Flip 5 is one of the easiest decisions I've ever made, and it can be for you too. So the Z Flip 5, we're into 5 years of this now, which is crazy. They added this screen on the front of it. So if you're used to the Z Flip 3, Z Flip 4, all that stuff, it has this tiny little display screen on the front, which is, well, quite frankly, is garbage. I didn't really ever care for it. I've been waiting for this for the longest time because they needed to do this. So essentially now with the Z Flip 5, what you get is a mostly fully functional front screen. And, well, they're trying to keep up with these guys right here at Motorola with the Razr Plus. And I gotta say, the Razr Plus front screen, I think, still works better. But one thing I want to talk about real quick, when it comes to the Z Flip 5, you have less than 2 days left to pre-order it. Hear me out. If you have a Z Flip 4, you can trade it in towards the Z Flip 5. $900 trade-in credit. And then that means it's $99. But if you use the link I have in the description, you get an extra $50 off while it's still in pre-order. So that drops it down to $49.99 plus tax. But here's the great thing. If you pre-order it, you get free storage upgrade. So the baseline on these is 256 gigabytes now. You get 512 for free. Imagine having your fantastic flip phone 512 gigabytes of storage. That's something we used to associate with like the Z Fold or like an S22 Ultra, S23 Ultra, an iPhone 14, 13 Pro Max. So 512 gigabytes of storage is some pretty serious storage space. That means this thing's going to last you a long time. But also, you can get 30% off on Samsung Care Plus, which every time I talk about these videos, these phones, get the insurance. Like, I know the warranty covers a lot, but the insurance, extra peace of mind. With 30% off, you pay $7.70 a month for the insurance, which you can turn off whenever you want. So, all those reasons, link in the description. Easiest decision ever. I basically paid $49 for this phone, and I'm ecstatic about it. So, one of the biggest improvements we have here with the Z Flip 5 is what's underneath the hood. It's the Snapdragon 8 Generation 2, and it's been revolutionary in phones that you might have heard of, called the S23 Ultra. I made a lot of videos about it. I have tested out this chip extensively in the OnePlus 11, the S23 Ultra, the Sony Xperia 1 Mark V. It's a game changer. And now we have it in this wonderful piece of technology, the Z Flip 5. So that's going to give you better battery life. Now, we already got a little bit extra battery bump last year, but we still have the same 3,700 milliamps. Combine that with the Snapdragon 8 Generation 2, you're going to get the best battery life ever in one of these flip phones. And it got better with the Z Flip 4. But this is going to be good. It's going to be real good. So I'm excited about that. Still got 8 gigabytes of RAM. You can get up to 512 storage. And like I said, if you pre-order it, that's a no-brainer. So not only are you getting the phone basically for $50 while it's still in pre-order, but then you get that extra storage upgrade. So I'm really happy about that. So Snapdragon 8 Generation 2, it's still got the same cameras, which are good, but there is a slight enhancement to the cameras, and that also comes as a benefit of the chip. So what you have now is they've got the nightography, which is a phrase that Samsung coined when the S23 came out, so you're going to get better skin tone, better low light photos, less noise, all that great stuff. So even though it's the same cameras physically, you're still going to get a better experience. And you're probably wondering, well, how is that? It's because of the computational photography. So if you're familiar with the phones that Google makes, pretty much everybody across the board is like, hey, Pixels, they have the best cameras. Well, it would probably surprise you to know that a lot of times, especially in the past, that the camera that the Pixels was using were several years old. So it wasn't that it was the best camera out on the market. It was because Google did so much great stuff with the software stuff, with the computational photography, the machine learning and AI that allows it to take better photos. So you're going to get better photos, you're going to get better battery life. You've got this bigger screen on the front, 3.4 inches. So a little bit different thing here. So whenever it comes to the front screen experience, we've got, well, mostly full functionality. And I think that that's a great thing that they did because they really needed to keep up with this guy, the Motorola Razr. Now, the Motorola Razr Plus, or the Razr 40 Ultra if you're in other markets, so it has a fully functional front screen, but it doesn't really rely much on the software developers having to program for it. So this one natively can basically do everything. I can play Boom Beach on the front of here, and if you swipe through it, you can kind of see that, well, basically it's like a secondary desktop on your phone. When it comes to the Z Flip 5, you have like an expanded widget experience. So what are widgets? Widgets are like small little applets or small little programs that work that are not really fully functional. They're more of like, okay, we'll give you some information. You can do something like check your step count. You can check your notifications. You can reply to a text message. You can check the calendar. You can add more that's on here. And if you just press and hold on here, Yeah, you can cycle through the different widgets, and of course you can add more of them. So Samsung is taking a different approach. They're like, we are going to make this available where you can use the front screen experience, but it's going to be up to the app developers to optimize their app to work for it. So what you're going to get with the Z Flip experience is you're going to have a kind of full functionality on the front, but it's going to be limited to actually whether the software developers update their apps and make them work on the front screen. And then over here with the Razr Plus, well, you're just going to get that natively. It's built in. It's something that's just going to work. It's going to scale it down for the smaller screen. So I think the Motorola Razr is better in that department. And also when you take a look at the front screen, so you got 3.6 inches right here, 3.4 inches over here on the Samsung, 60 hertz. So the front screen experience on the Samsung is only 60 hertz. And I actually think that's for a reason, right? So not so much to say battery, but if you're really looking at the front screen experience on the Z Flip is more of like a widget, notification, information kind of thing, and not like, okay, we want you to be able to use this. You can play games, you can use Twitter, all sorts of crazy stuff. So they have a 60 hertz refresh rate, whereas the one on the front of the Razr Plus is 120 hertz. So kind of a fundamental difference there. I think that Motorola is still ahead. I think the Razr Plus experience on the front screen is better. So once you open it up though, 6.7 inch screen on the inside, AMOLED display, 1080p. Now the notch here, or sorry, not the notch, the crease, right? So we've got the crease in here. It's one of those things where I think it is a little bit better this year. So it's a little bit shallower and it's not quite as harsh. But I really think the objective here is not so much to get rid of the crease. And you would think after 5 years they would spend a little bit more time and energy trying to get rid of the crease, but they haven't. And it's funny because every video I get somebody that says, "Oh, I'm not buying one of these until the crease is gone." Maybe come back in like 2035. So the whole idea here is to get a phone that flips, opens and closes like this. You basically cut the profile in half, right? You're getting a phone that takes up half as much real estate, and they've been working on making them thinner, lighter, bigger batteries, better internals, better cameras, and things like that. So aesthetically, is the crease really that big of a deal? No, it's not. I mean, I use these phones all the time, and it really is not something that is off-putting. It's not something that bothers me. You don't even pay attention to it. It's not even something that you notice after a while. So I don't think that's coming anytime soon. But it's basically the best if you want to put air quotes around it. But what they did do is they kind of shaved a little bit off the hinge. And then whenever it closes completely flat and flush. So they finally basically caught up with everybody else. I mean, Motorola has been doing this for a while. If you take a look at what we have with the Z Flip 4, you see how there's like a wedge, right? There's a gap, there's airspace in there you can see through. They close that up. So that was kind of the big thing for this one. They made it a little lighter, they closed up the gap, and they gave us the Snapdragon 8 Generation 2, and they gave us the front screen experience. So I think that as far as upgrades go, it's pretty good. And one of the biggest things is really what's most important to me is the chip, the Snapdragon 8 Generation 2. And it's crazy because you can do all sorts of stuff on here. You can do your flagship level gaming. You've got better battery life now. It's got UFS 4.0, which is the better, faster storage stuff. So that came around with the S23. If you take a look at other competitors, a lot of them are still using UFS 3.1. If you look at the Motorola Razr Plus, it's UFS 3.1. So a couple other things. It's got 25 watt charging. It's got wireless charging. It's got reverse wireless charging at like 4.5 watts. Like, you got to be desperate to try and reverse wireless charge with this phone because there's not a whole lot of battery to share. It's like, okay, let me get a little bit of juice for my earbuds, something like that. But otherwise, I really like the form factor on here. Another thing missing is DeX. There's no DeX, no wired DeX, no wireless DeX. I made a video about this the other day. I said it was the most disappointing thing about the Z Flip 5. And well, that kind of holds true. And there's folks who are upset that there is no DeX. Now, if you're probably wondering, what is DeX? What are you going on about? It's the desktop software where basically you can connect your phone. Samsung's, a lot of them have it. Even some of the budget phones have it. You can connect to a monitor. You can connect it, and you can use it wirelessly with a TV or whatever. And essentially, it turns like this desktop mode. Where you can, it's kind of like having a computer experience on a monitor, on a TV or whatever, remotely from your phone. And for instance, if you do it like the Z Fold, the front screen turns into like the mouse trackpad and stuff. So I know some folks that really like that. I still don't understand why it's not here. In the past, it's because it had the older USB-C connector. This one has the newer USB-C connector. And I talked about this. I really just don't think the point of this phone is multitasking, productivity, and using a desktop client. Now, you do have it over here with Motorola Razr, not desktop. Like, they have their own desktop experience. I'm drawing a blank on the name right now, but they have their own kind of limited desktop experience similar to Dex. Dex is definitely better, but hey, at least Motorola threw it in their phone. So, yeah, it's a good phone. It's got nice stereo speakers. It's got the 120 hertz refresh rate on the inside, 2 times AMOLED, 1750 nits brightness on the screen. So if you take this outside, you have it on automatic brightness, it's going to get, like, you'll look at the sun and then you'll look at your phone and the phone might actually hurt your eyes more because it's so bright. But it's got a beautiful screen on here. Samsung makes the best screens. Samsung is honestly making most of the screens and foldable displays for the phones out in the market today, right? So if you pick up a foldable phone, likely the screen came from Samsung. So Samsung has pretty much got this down. This right here, again, if you like the flip phones, if you've had one in the past, the Z Flip 3, Z Flip 4, it is a no-brainer to upgrade to this. And even if you have the Z Flip 4, hear me out. Basically, you can get it for 50 bucks. Trade it in, and you don't have to be inconvenienced or anything. The way the trade-in process works is you buy it, right? You pay whatever the adjusted price is. So, like, let's say it's $9.99. You get $900 trade-in credit. They charge you the $99. And then if you use my link, you get the extra 50 bucks. So basically, you pay $49 plus tax. They ship this to you. Once it shows up, you have 2 weeks to transfer everything over, send your other phone back in. They don't do like Google. They don't do like Apple, where they charge you the full $1,000, $1,100 up front, and then they give you a refund. They give you a credit. And that's one thing I really love about Samsung. And the other thing is, if you don't like it, you can send the sucker right back. Now, I'm not trying to convince you to buy one. Just in general, Samsung is great to buy from because they get the exclusive colors. They have all these pre-order deals. You get the free 512. But if it shows up and you don't like it, well, you can just return it. They'll give you a free FedEx label. You put it back in the box and send it back to them. You're not out anything. So Samsung makes it very easy. They put the threshold very, very low to try and get you into one of these because, of course, one, they're cool and everybody likes them. Well, most everybody likes them anyway. Somebody always likes to complain, right? But I really like the flip phones. I've been on board with them. I had the original Z Flip, the 5G, the Z Flip 3, the 4, and now I have the 5. And it's so nice because all you have to do is just, well, fold it up, put it in your pocket. You know, of course, you can always slam it really hard when you want to get off the phone aggressively to prove your point. I mean, if you want, you can do this and you can throw it open. I want to talk about the hinge, though. So the hinge on this is like butter. I'm not really impressed when it comes to a lot of these hinges. I'm like, okay, they open, they close, whatever. I went to Best Buy and looked at it, and I opened it up, and there's essentially no break-in period. This sucker is smooth as butter. You can do it with one finger. Like, you don't even have to use a bunch of fingers. There's not a lot of spring tension on there. It opens and closes so easily. And it still has the same similar footprint. I mean, basically, it's the same size, effectively, as the Z Flip 4. A little bit thinner, a little bit lighter. I do appreciate that. You can tell that it's lighter, and it's fun. There's not a whole lot about phones anymore that's really all that fun. But when you talk about phones like the Z Fold, you talk about the Z Flip, it really makes things kind of interesting again. And we're past that stage where it's like, all right, you got to compromise. In the beginning, you kind of had to compromise. They would put a decent chip in there, and then it's like, all right, not as much RAM, not as good a cameras, doesn't have 3 cameras, the screen's not as good. There's no compromises anymore. And I think these have been battle tested. They've been through the paces, right? And it's something where we're on year 5. So when you take a look at it from a day-to-day value perspective and durability, I think they hold up well. Of course, you're going to have somebody who said, look, I bought mine 3 days later, the screen tore. Yes, there's always going to be anomalies whenever it comes to phones. Even the wonderful phones like the S23 Ultra, people have problems with those. They're like, hey, I used it for 3 days and my screen cracked on me. You never know. And that's why I say get the insurance, but also you've got the 1-year manufacturer's warranty. I think that these things have been around long enough now that they're pretty darn good, and they really bring a next level experience that you don't get a lot of other places. And they're way more affordable now. Now, I know that $9.99 sounds like a lot, because it is. But when they first came out, it was $13.80. Then it was $14.49, and then they dropped it to $9.99. And this really is kind of like the pedestrian commuter, everyday guy and gal kind of flip phone experience. It's not that $17.99 Z Fold, but carriers really want you to buy them. A lot of carrier deals, you can still get like the $1,000. You can trade in at AT&T. I think they had it where you can trade in any Samsung phone and basically get them for like free. There's a lot of different deals out there. And then once you buy one, well, Samsung makes it really easy to get one the next year. So from the Z Flip 3 to the Z Flip 4, they did the same thing. You basically had to pay $100 out of pocket. It was a no-brainer. And then now with the Z Flip 5, it's effectively the same thing, except now you also get that extra $50 of credit. You can get it for $50 plus tax. That's basically renewing your lease on life and your foldable phone for another year. That's a whole nother year of manufacturer's warranty, peace of mind for like 3 trips to McDonald's, right? So that's why I like to talk about this, because during the pre-order phase, you can get some really good deals, plus the extra storage. Like, don't kick yourself in a week and be like, man, I wish I'd have got that 512 storage for free. And that's pretty much it. I think that Samsung has done a really good job here. I think it's still behind in some areas. I don't like that it doesn't have DeX. The cameras, maybe next year we'll see some more improvement. But of course, it takes decent photos. And that's the thing. A lot of people are like, oh, it's got crappy cameras. It doesn't have the greatest cameras. And it has good cameras. Like, it really does, especially for what it's designed for. You're not going out. This is not a Sony Xperia 1 Mark V. It's not an S23 Ultra. But in the year 2023, these phones take really good pictures, especially you got good daylight, you've got extra emphasis on nightography now, so the cameras are good, you've got this great front screen experience now that at least lets you reply to messages, and it's going to get better. Like, it's going to get better over time, and it's something where as the faster we get more developers to onboard their apps and get them optimized, it's going to make it a more full screen experience. And that's the thing. The whole point of the front screen is so you can just do things at a glance. You can reply to a message. You can take a photo real quick and you can see yourself on the screen. You can record video clips. And it's nice because, ta-da, you got this big viewfinder now instead of the tiny, tiny little window like we have over here. And then you also have flex mode where you can pop it up, you can position it, so that way you can set it however you want to take your photos, take your video clips, and all that stuff. So I think there's a lot to like here. I think finally now they're in a pretty safe spot. I mean, most folks are not going, I don't want to buy that because it's going to snap in half and worried about it. Most people are past the point of worry, and it's on to the point of intrigue, and it really does offer a flagship level experience in this flip phone, and I think it's good. Like, I'm going to have my competitive video. I'm going to make a video to talk about directly to a competition between the Razr Plus and the Z Flip 5. I think that both of them have a little bit extra to offer. I mean, if you take a look at the Razr Plus, it has UFS 3.1. It doesn't have reverse wireless charging. It doesn't have the IPX rating, and that's the thing. It's got IPX8 water resistance. So, I mean, there's some trade-offs. And like the Razr Plus has the Snapdragon 8 Plus Generation 1, whereas this has the 8 Generation 2. So there's a lot of things to consider. But if you're in the market, if you like Samsung, if you want to try a flip phone, I think it's no brainer. I think this is the best opportunity ever to get one of these flip phones so far, and I think they're just going to keep getting better. So I know this is a long video, but I love these phones. There's a lot I wanted to talk about in here. I'm going to wrap this one up. Y'all have listened to me talk for almost 20 minutes. So thank you. You're all saints. And hopefully you learned something here. Hopefully this was an enjoyable video for you and gave you the information that you needed to make the decisions if you're interested in picking one up, or if you just generally like to learn about phones. So that's all I got. Questions or comments, you know where to go. Hit the comment section. As always, thanks for being here. I appreciate you watching. If you enjoyed the video, of course, hit the like and the subscribe button and the little notification bell if you want updates when new videos come out. And as always, thanks for being here. I appreciate you watching, and I'll see you guys next time.